before I start today's video, I've been completely nocturnal recently, so I haven't been posting online or anything, but I was lucky enough to be asked by Ling Hun, who you should already be subscribed to and should be following on all of his social medias, to do a little interview, answer a couple of questions for a radio show he has where he lives in England, and it's all about the arts. So he interviews people from all different types of arts related areas, you know, painters and even music tech people and musicians and stuff, and he invited me on to answer a few questions, and it was very cool. I had absolutely no idea what to expect, but I said yes because that's what I do, and it was very cool. It went live on last Wednesday and I completely forgot to post about it, but he said it's also available on his Spotify and iTunes, and also on his YouTube channel, so I will link everything down below. It was very cool just to answer questions about books, and I was totally not expecting him to ask me questions about my own writing and beta reading and stuff as well. Don't know why that was a shock to me, but it was. So it was very pleasant and very fun, and you should definitely check it out and check out his other stuff as well. So this is going up a little bit late, just been frazzled recently, but this should hopefully not be going up too late. It was supposed to post it on the Friday. Hopefully I'll get it up on the Saturday. I was going to do a video about movies, the recent movies that I've seen, but it turns out I have a few more things that I want to say about the movies, so I thought I would just do a quick one. Not really a TBR, but books that I'm actually excited to get reading, books that I've recently bought or have put on my list, and I'm like actually gearing up to read. I feel like I'm on the verge of like a reading binge. I don't know, I haven't been reading that much lately, but I'm getting a couple of reviews out of the way and stuff, so I'll have time then to read whatever I want, and these are some of the books that I want to read. Now, first one I will mention, I do have the physical copy, but it's downstairs, is The Ruins by Scott Smith. I've been talking about this book, I'm not even kidding, probably 2 years now, because everyone was talking about it, saying it was great. There's also a movie, and I want to watch the movie as well, but I want to read the book first. I have actually started this. I of course started it while I was on a plane on my way to a holiday, and it's about people on holiday and things going very badly. So I haven't got too far into it, but so far I'm really liking it. You really get sort of thrown in to this group of people in the deep end, and I can already see cracks starting to form in relationships and friendships and stuff. So far it's looking good. Next physical one I have is this. I think I mentioned it in the last video, but I am looking forward to getting into this, looking forward to getting into some cool short stories. Ew, what a pretty lady. What a pretty lady. I just opened it up true. That is Was It a Dream by Guy de Maupassant. I had loved her madly. So yeah, looking forward to this. Oh, I have another physical one. I'm not sure exactly where it is. Basically, I took out a complete collection of Edgar Allan Poe's works in 2020, and I have not returned it. I've actually moved since then. The library that I took it out of was demolished, and I don't know if they've rebuilt it. 3 years, yeah. They very kindly sent me an email a couple of months ago and was like, hey, can you give that back to us, please? So I really should do that. So I want to get that read. I'd originally taken that out because I wanted to do, I've only read like 1 or 2 Poe things and 1 or 2 Lovecraft things, and it was one of those like books I should have read, like vintage horror stuff, so I wanted to like compare and contrast and see what they're all about. I will actually, I think I'm gonna start doing lives on TikTok and like reading them aloud, because I've seen some other people just reading like bedtime stories and whatnot, and I'm like, hey, some other people might want to hear some Poe tales as well, so I might do a little bit of dress up and start doing some lives where I read Poe's stories. That might be fun. So those are all my physical ones. Now the next ones are ones that I heard of recently, either just through random comments or through TikToks or whatever. It is depressingly easy to sell me books, but there you go. First one I want to mention is, it was actually by one of my mutuals on here, and it's called Butcherbird by Cassie, Hart. She had commented on one of my videos. I can probably look up the comment, but I'll put it up, and she just mentioned that she liked sort of horror that had isolation in it and stuff, and it was like a book that she had written, and I was like, what, you wrote a book? I didn't even know that she had a channel, so you should definitely go check out Cassie Hart's channel, and definitely check out her book as well. It is set in New Zealand, and it is about a family. I think the sort of grown-up children of this family are going back to this house after a tumultuous childhood or whatever, and there may be ghosts, there may be some gothic weird elements, and it's set in a farm out in the countryside, and that's basically how I grew up, so I'm loving all of those elements. So I'm really excited to read that one. I love the cover as well, so vibrant. Another one that I saw, I think it was someone followed my like book TikTok, and I always check out who follows me, because if they post anything to do with books or writing or anything, I'll follow them back. And she was actually an Irish writer, and I was like, awesome. And she, like, her latest video was about her newest book, Awake in the Night by Shauna Eleney, and this one is classic, not classic, but the gothic house on the west coast of Ireland, where these two women move in. I think they're a couple, so I think it is a queer book as well, which is always up my alley, and it tackles one of the classic and darkest corners of Irish history, which is the atrocities of the Catholic Church, which will always and should always horrify absolutely everyone. So they move into this house, and there are ghosts there, and this house had been used at one point by the church for probably the most horrible things that you can imagine. So very interested in that. Immediately went and bought the ebook of that, so I'm looking forward to that one. Another one that again, I saw a TikTok of the writer just mentioning the book, and I thought that looks interesting. It is called Ling Hun by Ai Jiang, and this is a Chinese Canadian writer, and it is described, she described it as a modern gothic ghost story. Need I say more? If you're trying to sell me something, throw those words in. I'll be throwing my money at you. A little description here from Goodreads is Ling Hun is set in the mysterious town of Home, a place where the dead live again as spirits conjured by the grief-sick population that refuses to let go. I think it's actually a novella, not a full-length novel, but whatever. I love the idea of it, so I am getting excited to read that one. A couple that another couple that I'm excited to read are, one of them, this one is sort of research for a story I'm doing myself, and it's called The Burning of Bridget Cleary by Angela Bourke, and this is a true story, it's non-fiction, about a woman a young wife in the 1890s in Ireland who was burnt alive by her husband and with the help of some other people in the village, allegedly, because the husband thought that she was a changeling, which is the other most popular Irish horror thing. It's either the atrocities of the Catholic Church or a changeling. If you ever look for an Irish horror movie, that's mainly what they're about. But she was a little bit too independent, a little bit too opinionated, and unfortunately she lost her life because of it. And when he was put to trial, his defense was that he was certain she was a changeling, and that if he killed her, the fairies would give back his actual wife. And this story, or this book, looks at what actually happened, the historical context of it, and whether or not the husband actually believed that, or if he was just using it as an excuse to get away with murder. So I'm really interested in that. I've always been interested in the story of Bridget Cleary and just how close it is to now. You know, it's not hundreds of years ago, you know, it's relatively recent times in modern history. So yeah, fascinated by that story. It's called The Doctor's Wife is Dead by Andrew Tierney. This one is a fascinating one. This is also set in Ireland, I think in the same county as Bridget Cleary's. Well, I don't know what's going on down in Tipperary. I think it was Tipperary that was happening. This was also in the 1800s, and I think, let me just make sure I know what that is actually about. The true story of a peculiar marriage, a suspicious death, and the murder trial that shocked Ireland. There's really not a lot of murder that goes on in Ireland. We're so small, so it's always kind of a shock when it does happen. In 1849, a woman called Ellen Langley died in Nina, County Tipperary. She was the wife of a prosperous local doctor, so why was she buried in a pauper's coffin? Why had she been confined to the grim attic of the house she shared with her husband, and then exiled to a rented dwelling room in an impoverished part of the famine-ravaged town? And why was her husband charged with murder? And I think this looks at the inquest and the trial, what happened to her. Again, Ireland, because Ireland is so small and every like little village and community is so small, it's really difficult to get away with any kind of crime in Ireland, because everyone knows everyone's business, and we're all a bunch of nosy fuckers. Let's be honest. We're like, there are people, you know, especially in this time, whose entire role in life was to know what everyone else's business was. So it is fascinating to me how someone can get away with something like that for so long, and also very morbid. Now, the last one that I want to mention is more of an experiment for me. It kept coming up on my TikTok. Yes, it kept coming up on my TikTok, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting the sense that I should read this. And then I googled it, and I was like, oh, this definitely isn't for me. But now, from that angle, I'm going to read it and see how I actually feel about it. It's a non-fiction book called The Artist's Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity by Julia Cameron. Now, I've seen loads of videos on it, and loads of people saying it's like changed their lives in terms of making their art, whether it's, you know, painting or acting or dancing or writing, and it's really kickstarted their motivation and their productivity in being creative, and I definitely need that. The issue for me was that I looked it up, and the first sort of line that I saw was that the whole premise of the book is that God wants you to be creative. Ooh. I'm not religious, I'm a complete atheist, and I have read books in the past that mentioned like a god or mentioned spirituality or whatever, and like that's fine. This one seems to be like that is the entire thing, the entire focus, the entire way. Very American Christian thing, you know, where Funnily enough, I did read the acknowledgements of the book. She didn't thank God. Weird. That's sort of the people who, you know, they think that, you know, they get their favorite drink is on sale, you know, in their local shop, and they're like, oh, God has blessed me. It's like, yeah, God's answering your prayers, but not people who are actually dying. That makes sense. But I'm going to read it, and I'm going to see, because there are some like practical things to do in it, and like sort of like workbook things. Apparently there's pages you have to write every day, the morning pages. So I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna see, and then hopefully I'm gonna make a video about it for other people who are interested in the book, but I've been put off by the God thing as to whether or not, you know, you can actually enjoy the book or get any meaning from it without being religious or being a Christian or whatever. So I'm gonna see how that goes, and hopefully either way it's gonna push me to do some writing, because I definitely need to get that done. So those are the books that I am excited to read in the next while. I can feel it brimming. I can feel a book binge coming. So as soon as I feel like picking up a book, I've already started The Ruins, so that'll probably be first, and then probably the Poe one, so I can make the TikTok videos. So you should definitely follow me over on my book TikTok, although right now, because you need 1,000 followers to go on live, I won't be going live on that TikTok account. I'll be going live on my other nonsense account, but you can follow either. And I have some cool things coming up in the future, to talk about and to announce, which I'm excited about, and I hope other people can be excited about too. So thank you so much for joining me. I shall let you know how all of those books go, and whether or not you should read them, and I shall be back very soon for the next video.